Today's episode of Study Hall is coming to you from Neo Paris 2084, in honor of Remember Me, the Cyberpunk game, not the Robert Pattinson movie. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Max Scoville's Study Hall, the show where I take a particular video game that you may or may not be interested in, and then talk about some other related pop culture that'll complement that particular game, and maybe even get you more interested in the game than you were initially. Today's game is Remember Me, which is the brand new IP from Capcom and Don't Nod Studios. Remember Me takes place in Neo Paris in the year 2084. This company called Memorize invents an implant that lets people upload their memories to the internet, which basically gives them a monopoly on human thought. In the game, players take on the role of Nylan, a former Memorize employee who wakes up, surprise, surprise, with her memory wiped. In spite of all the wacky, high-concept cyberpunk stuff going on in Remember Me, the game's creative director said that one of the harder selling points of the game for some publisher was the idea of a female protagonist. Now, sexism in the gaming industry is a can of worms that I would rather not open right now, but I do think it's stupid that Remember Me's female protagonist was an issue when cyberpunk fiction is just packed with tough dames who have weird wires and stuff in their head. So today I'm going to give you guys a crash course in cyberpunk and the ladies who make it awesome. Starting with the least futuristic type of media out there, regular old books. William Gibson's novel Neuromancer is usually the first book people recommend when they're talking about cyberpunk. He's my favorite author, so I'm going to take any chance I can to recommend his books to people. Neuromancer is basically a futuristic heist story, and one of the people involved in that heist is Molly Millions. Molly is a cybernetically augmented human working as muscle for hire, or a street samurai. She has surgically implanted mirrored lenses covering her eyes, giving her enhanced eyesight, as well as a fair amount of AR functionality, which if you ask me is a lot cooler than walking around wearing Google Glass. She's also got razor-sharp blades that extend from her fingernails, and obviously augmented reflexes and strength so she can totally mess people up, and she does in the book. Or, open packages really easily, which I don't think she does in the book. Neuromancer is the first book in the Sprawl trilogy, and Molly shows up a bit in the later books. Gibson's earlier writing can be a bit intimidating because he has this penchant for extremely detailed descriptions of everything. But if you want something a little bit easier to get into, Molly also appears in his short story Johnny Mnemonic, which is set in the same Sprawl universe. Johnny Mnemonic was adapted into a movie in 1995, which I'm not really crazy about, partially because Molly was replaced by some lady named Jane who just has normally non-reflective eyes. But Molly Millions, very cool cyberpunk lady. Also, weird fun fact, William Gibson has said that Molly's look was inspired by Chrissie Hynde from The Pretenders on their first album cover. Who would have thought The Pretenders are cyberpunk? That's so weird. Now, the other book that people usually recommend when talking about cyberpunk is Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash. If Neuromancer is a heist novel, then I don't know how the hell to describe Snow Crash to you, but it's a lot of fun, and it's just as much satire as it is science fiction. Snow Crash's main hero and protagonist is actually a guy named Hero Protagonist, but his partner is a 15-year-old girl named YT, short for yours truly. YT is a skateboarding courier who gets around Los Angeles by harpooning cars on freeways with a tow cable and then cutting through traffic to deliver stuff for like the mafia and the FBI. It's hard to tell how much of YT's teenager slang is dated and how much of it's meant to be a parody of Valley Girl culture at the time, but if you giggle at the mention of the word poon, then you might have a hard time getting through this book with a straight face. She's talking about a harpoon, guys. It's nothing else, just grow up. Japan is usually pretty ahead of the curve in terms of technology, so it should be no surprise that they're also pretty ahead of the curve when it comes to fiction centered around technology. I could do an entire episode on cyberpunk Japanese pop culture, but you'll have to settle for just a couple favorites for now, starting with Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell, the movie, was some of the first Japanese anime I recall seeing for sale in America. I remember standing in the back corner of an HMV record store in like 1997, reading the back of the VHS box, and being really excited about the idea of a cartoon full of intense violence and nudity. So, that was 1997, so there's a pretty good chance everyone's seen it by now. But if you haven't, get on that, because it's awesome and you are missing out. Ghost in the Shell's cyborg heroine, Major Motoko Kusanagi, has made quite a career for herself, tracking down rampant cyborgs and stuff like that, as the original movie has spawned a sequel, a spin-off series, Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex, several video games, and an upcoming 4-part video series called Ghost in the Shell Arise, which I don't think is even out yet in Japan, but that should be coming very soon to the States. Just recently, my girlfriend recommended one of her favorite manga/anime series to me, Battle Angel Alita, which is known as Ganmu in Japan, which apparently is a portmanteau of gun and dream. Okay. Battle Angel Alita follows an android girl named Alita who is found in a junkyard and repaired by a kindly old scientist who also happens to be a bounty hunter who kills people with a rocket-powered hammer. Hell yeah! Alita then becomes a bounty hunter too, because why the hell not? The Battle Angel Alita anime is only 2 episodes long and basically retells the first story arc of the manga. The manga, meanwhile, goes on for like 16 volumes and goes completely, entirely off the rails, with Alita competing in post-apocalyptic cyborg rollerball and then fighting big-ass giant cyborg Mad Max dudes. James Cameron has been talking about adapting Battle Angel Alita into a movie for like a decade now, but considering he's still got like 2 more Avatar movies to make, that might be a while, but my god, do I want to see what he does with that. Next up, we've got music! I know, I said I was talking about cool cyberpunk ladies, but I had a couple song recommendations that I felt were somehow related. The first is Information Society's Mirrorshades, which, surprise, surprise, is a song about Molly Millions from Neuromancer. Information Society sounds a bit corny now, sort of like if Depeche Mode and KMFDM collaborated, but they wrote a song about a William Gibson novel, so they're cool by me. Then there's Smokin Japanese Babe by Future Sound of London, the experimental electronica group, off their album ISDN, which is one of the most cyberpunk albums I can think of because it's cobbled together from like electronic music that they were broadcasting to radio stations all over the world using an ISDN internet connection. Do you even know what that is? That's like 56K, but a little bit faster, but still just as dumb. Oh, there's the bell. Anyway, that's about all the time we have for today. We'll be back here next week to talk about my favorite superhero, Deadpool. Until next time, remember, a gentleman always opens doors for ladies because they might actually be cyborgs with razor-sharp talons. Also, it's nice.